So today I'm joined by Will Fitzgerald. Will is a former member of the Defence Forces with 29 years service.
Yeah, I was just kicking into my 30th year at the time when I was going. Yeah.
Do you miss it now that you're out, or how do you find it?
I think you miss the organisation. Look, it's a great organisation. I miss the people particularly. The guys and girls in there we worked very closely with for many years. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is the people that you miss, and those relationships.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it flies along, doesn't it?
That sure does. But what was the thought process then for you, like joining the Defence Forces? Like, were you interested in sports when you were younger? Or?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. Like, I suppose I played sports. I would have played in Nate Brogue many years ago out in Kilbarrack, where I'm from, and I loved hurling, football, anything. I took up ice hockey then when I was around 14, 15. We were on a school trip in Spain. We were supposed to go skating. Brilliant. Never went, and we ended up going back to. They brought us back here and said, "Should we bring you to the ice rink in in Dolphins Barn?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, sure, this is great." Went, and I never stopped going.
Right.
So I've literally been skating and playing ice hockey since then. So the GA got parked. sorry, GA. But playing ice hockey for many years and battling to try and get facilities open. And then on the army side, my dad was ex-army.
Right.
So he'd been in the engineers for a few years, and God rest him and my mum, but my dad always said, mother gave me the ultimatum, me or the army, so unfortunately the army lost out. So yeah, but it was a bit of a history there as well, and I always just thought that, look, the army would be great. My brother was in the army, Domo, he served as well, and then my brother was in the SLUA, the Naval Reserve at the time, SLUA Wiri. And I think it was just in the family. So a bit of history there with
good family tradition. The ice hockey ones, it's an
it's a bit mad, isn't it? It's a bit mad.
Dolphins Barn, that's gone a long time now, isn't it?
And you can picture a fella getting onto the dart in Kilbarrack with a big huge bag and a stick, and everyone looking at him like, who's this lunatic? And then you get onto the bus out to the barn, and I end up sleeping in the ice rink and everything. Jesus. So yeah, it was and is still a unique thing, and look, it's a minority sport in Ireland, and there's all sorts of shenanigans we've been trying to do to get rinks open and all sorts of stuff. I won't bore you with that, but needless to say, a young fella of 15 getting on the train and bus for a big hockey bag was a sight to behold, you know.
Yeah, definitely. But you decided to join the army then. Do you remember your first day?
Oh yeah, like it was the 11th of January 88. We got chucked into a bus in the Brewer over to St. Brickens, do your medical. You know, you come in and there's a few of us all joined up there, and into the bus, and next of all up to Dundalk. Hadn't a breeze where we were. Thought we're in Belfast. You know, there's the heights of all sorts going on up north, and we hadn't a clue where we were. Like, you literally, all these Dublin heads just arrive on scene. Now I would say there was a lot more than Dublin lads in the end in the platoon. But yeah, it was brilliant. And into the waxworks in Dundalk. So if anyone knows the big store, the high story block in there, top floor, and a world of wonder and waxing floors took off from there, you know.
For your first day, so you wouldn't have done a medical before you joined. Like, you would have went on day one and then been brought in a medical.
Yeah, literally, you didn't know. Like, we rocked in to the Brewer. Brickens as well, get your medical done, right, you're fit, get you a pulse, get into the bus, and then Dundalk, here we go. Right. So even at that then, you know, where you were even being trained was unknown. Like, it was, look, someone probably told us at some stage, but I hadn't a breeze. I was just like going, oh my God, like, where am I going to end up here? Dundalk, and fabulous Dundalk, like, loved every minute of it up there. We had a brilliant place to train. You had the coolies just up the way, Red Barns range around the corner. The barracks was fabulous, and a brilliant platoon. The 27th platoon, the 27th battalion. So we're very proud of that number, you know.
Right.
So,
and how many people started with you then, like, at the very start?
Oh, look, I think it's about 6 or 7, maybe. No more than 10 anyway.
Right.
As many as you can get into a Bedford, and I think. But yeah, it was literally a small group, and then every day someone else had arrived. So we're ramping up, numbers arriving in every day, and then we just got stuck in. And then a couple of odd lads came in, or later on the platoon, and you know, they might have been training in Gormiston, back class. There could be injuries and all. We saw a couple of lads come in and had injuries. We lost a couple through injury too. But yeah, it ramped up over the week particularly. And then we had our platoon, 30 odd lads, and sure, life was good, you know. Young, free and lunatics, you know. 20-year-olds not knowing what life had ahead of me, you know.
Yeah, what was training like back then? Like, would it have been as structured as it is today, or would it have been very different? Or do you have any like topics?
Structure definitely. Like there's a syllabus of training there. As you know, I worked in J7 in the training branch, so there was a syllabus there for sure. It was tough going. Like there's no messing around. Like over the years, we saw different things come in where there were certain amendments and changes to be taking place.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of we got barked at quite a bit.
Yeah,
we got a lot of press ups. I remember getting kept. God, I remember being kept in, the whole section being kept in because they found the tiniest little rolled up toilet roll. We know one of our NCOs hid it in behind the toilet during inspection. Actually, we were kept in for the weekend, scrubbing squares and polishing cannons on the square, and it was tough going. But I would highly recommend that type of training to stay. It was brilliant. Now look, you have to be respectful, you have to be, look after people.
Yeah, definitely.
But it really prepared us very well.
Yeah.
And it was tough going. Great crack though,
It's good, right? It's not enjoyable when you're doing it, but when you're out the other side of it.
When you're in the ditch and you're looking up the stars, you think of that great, we're looking up at stars and everyone above us. I don't know what the actual, it's in the back of my head there. But when you're there dying and the corporal's standing there looking down and you're just feeling like nothing, and even the kindest little bit of word from them, is really brilliant. I remember one time we had been out all day in the Glen. You know the Glen from back in your days. And I remember one time we're coming in just up where the old bridge is, where my feet are wet, my feet are cold because I didn't do what I was told. Up the way there, we're crossing the river. As we don't cross the bridge, we go through the river. And my old NCO looked, he says, well done, Recruit Fitzgerald, good day's work. And like that, even 30 odd, 40, God, since 88. It still sticks with you a little bit, and someone saying, well done, you've done a great job. But it was tough going, and we trained from the 11th of Jan onwards, so there was occasionally there cold days, and then we went into the spring and life was good then, everything else was cool.
That's
then
right then.
They had to deal with the heat then, the Glen.
And how long was training back then? Would it have been 6 months as well? Or
it would have been up till about, it wasn't far off. Like I'll give you a laugh how I remember it, because on the 23rd of July was the day after I finished my training. It's also the day I met my wife on a plane going to the Canaries with my mates to chill out and do nothing. So from 11th of Jan to the 22nd of July, roughly I think it was. And literally it was fairly lengthy. And then of course, it's broken down between recruit training, 3-star training, and then you think you're ready for everything then, you're fully qualified, but of course you're only starting your career,
Any memorable moments from training, like any particular courses or anything that you would have done?
Training, I loved, even in the career, I loved it. Defence Forces have some brilliant schemes, refund of fees schemes, courses specific to Defence Force requirements. There was loads of other schemes, fantastic schemes. The Army fund a lot, or the Defence Forces fund a lot of them, and it's brilliant. But I benefited greatly. Like I did a Masters in Learning Technologies, I did some training and education stuff at IT Carlow. You mentioned Carlow here offline. Brilliant courses. I think my fondest one, there was two. One, I went to Canada. I did the advanced instructor course in Canada in CFB Borden. That was amazing. It was brilliant stuff, very much like the military college. And another one was I did the British Army Recce Commanders course, and I topped that course. I came first place in that course, and I was a changed man leaving that course, because it was like heavy backpacks, long distance patrolling, hiding, stalking, river runs, the works, not 1 or 2 day exercises, 1 or 2 week exercises.
Good to know you're hardcore, so.
That was brilliant. I was a sniper instructor as well. I loved, so I ran Recce Platoon. I was platoon sergeant for Recce Platoon in the 2nd Bat, and it was brilliant. Like we really excelled. We spent a lot of time bringing a lot of the folks up to really good levels of skill and talent in relation to reconnaissance or sniping or intelligence or aerial photography, loads of different things. But look, the Army courses galore. But anyone who's listening or watching, I'd say, listen, if you are serving, utilise the courses available or the options available to you. Speak to your 2IC, speak to the sergeants in ops, they'll give you a dig out, or sergeants in training, they'll help you out. But it was brilliant, absolutely. It set me up for life, unquestionably.
Yeah, definitely. And you're out, when you came out training then, how long did it take for you to get your first promotion to corporal?
It took a while. I suppose corporal not so long. I think it was 93, 94 I got promoted to corporal. So 88, 93, 94, not too bad. There's a couple of trips overseas in there as well, which always helps.
Yeah,
You know, when you're going for promotion or career development, it always helps to have that. So there was a couple of courses. I was on the 67th and the 74th battalions in Unifil in the Leb. So then Potts course in the Brewer, you know, getting ran around the Brewer non-stop, fantastic days. And then, to get to sergeant was harder. A number of years gone by. Certainly doing courses of a higher level really made you stand out a bit. Working a lot on the exercises, working with, say, in ops was one example, working I think the big thing is probably was skills and you know, being a good bit of stuff as well. Like, we know some folks we see in the organisation let you down sometimes, but the vast majority are outstanding. And I think if you're one of these reliable people who really can go out of your way, you know, not go absent, do your duties, be there for your buddies, and really just excel if you can. That set me up well. So then going for sergeant that was grand. It was all interview. It wasn't like the new interview process where you know.
Going for sergeant, right? So you had to apply for the course, and then you went to the Corps, was it, to train to be a sergeant? Or
so you'd say apply for the standard course. So getting the standard course is challenging enough. Like, they're like hen's teeth. Now there's a lot more regularity to them, but at the time very difficult to get a course place because everyone wants to be there. So you get in again. Part of it, you know, if you're a good bit of stuff, you're demonstrating that you have a leadership ability and you want to do the next thing. Your CO would see this, your 2IC might see this, and they'd say, listen, Will is doing a good bit of stuff here. I'd recommend he's there. So it's not being in the shadows, not being the grey man is a big key factor here. If you're willing to step out above the parapet, do your bit, let people see. And it's not about, you know, DS watching, you know, for those, you know, it's not about just turning on the show when the NCOs are around or the officers are around, but it's about genuinely putting the effort in. And then you apply for the course. And look, if you're lucky, the 2IC sticks your name forward. And you're on, and then you're heading to the Curragh for the crack, you know. And there you go.
Become a sergeant then, right? So you get to the Curragh, you apply for the course because of everything that you've done leading up to the course. You're in the Curragh then. How long are you in the Curragh for?
From memory, I'm thinking it's 12 weeks. I'm trying to visualise the syllabus of training, which I saw so many times. So you're down for a couple of months anyway, and it's tough out going. Like, you're putting the work in. There are healthy exercises, you know. The NCO training have a way of making you work hard for every stripe you get, you know. In the best of ways, look. But you do the course again. Next thing, you're waiting on vacancies. Like, it's not an automatic promotion. You've got the standard course done, great. You're waiting to get promoted.
You still don't get promoted.
It's a long time, you know. And vacancies there, you know, like, you're nearly waiting for someone to croak it before you get a position. It's the internal joke, you know. But listen, you know, if someone dies, listen, I'll take your boots, mate. You know. But it's just, you know, it's just how it was. Like, small organisation. Low number of opportunities, but then when it did come up, particularly after 2012 when a lot of folks were leaving, there was opportunity that did open, and look, I was delighted. I got the Recce Platoon Sergeant position in the second bat, so it was brilliant to be able to do the thing I really loved in the unit I loved, you know. So it was nice, and then you kick on, and then your whole relationship changes because now you're not a corporal anymore, you know. Whatever about being a private becoming a corporal and suddenly you're getting the dirty looks, you're not one of the lads anymore, you know. Then you become a corporal and then you're looking to be a sergeant, then you look at them corporals. It's
a lot more responsibility.
Look, it is. It's more responsibility, you know, but it's just a learning curve as well. You eventually get it, you know.
Definitely. And then, so you're in the second battalion. Is that when you first moved into ops then, and then the opportunity came up to move to the brigade?
Yeah, I'll give you a laugh. I was in operations, right? So how did I end up in operations? Well, what I did was I won the brigade sniper competition. Right? And I doubled the scores of most of your lads. Sorry guys, it's a fact. I would look up the record.
He's not bragging, man.
But it was hilarious because I'm there after doing brilliantly in the brigade, and all of a sudden to be told, well done Will, you're going into ops. And I went, Jesus. Like, I'm looking to do the opposite of ops. I need to be on the ground, train.
Stay out of the office.
And look, I went into the All Army. Look, I did okay. I didn't do brutal. I was, let's say, I floated somewhere in the middle. But so that was interesting. So ops was great. Look, I suppose ops is. It's probably where my knee trouble started because I didn't keep the old lubrication going in my knees from where I was in Recce. and sniping, but into ops, and then you're looking after various things. It was an interesting role. You know yourself, and working in ops as well. No 2 days are the same, especially when something big happens as well, you know.
Yeah. And did you work in ops in the battalion before you went over to brigade, or were you in brigade?
I didn't go into brigade HQ. I worked in second bar ops, and that's where I was for up until leaving. In fact, So I went from ops then over into J7 then, into training and education. D-training as it was, or DDFT at the time.
That's right.
And that was an interesting one. I think I went there in, I'm thinking January 2002. Would have been the year that my daughter was born.
Right.
So that's over to Park House, which was an interesting place, you know.
That's gone now, right?
It is. We moved out a few years later. Yeah, sure. There in SD2 in your khaki shirt and your trousers, and in the height of summer sweltering, and you know, the thing, as bad as it might be wearing SDs, you know, in the heat. Imagine wearing them every day of the week. So anyone in DFHQ, you have to feel sorry for them. God love them in SDs, you know. The infantry lads wouldn't worry, or the cav or artillery guys wouldn't worry too much about this. But the old SDs wearing them all the time, you know.
Is that still the case? They still have to wear them nowadays?
I don't know. I think it was eased off a bit. Certainly in McKee, we moved back into McKee then. After several years in Park House, and as far as I remember, I think we were back into DPMs. Right. But again, look, you're in the garrison at that stage. A lot of them around the SDs, probably because we would have been around a lot of civilians in the building. So we did one of the floors there, and like your regular IT companies and HSC and different organisations are in the room as well. So you were showing your best to the civilians as well. Like you're wearing your ribbons. Your name tags, everything there. So look, it wasn't the worst in the world. The training branch was fantastic, great little small group, and I got to work with a lot of brilliant people.
What kind of courses then? You would have seen like a lot of courses then come in and be distributed out then to different units. So we'd look after all of the syllabi. Now prior to the Defence Forces, they would have then what was called the academic council, you know, that was developed as well. And we had also the team down at the Curra who were working again on syllabi and stuff like that as well. So what we did was we seen thousands of syllabi coming through. I would have worked on the web page, making it all available, different things like that. So we'd look at that, and a big part of what we saw was development of the syllabi, where they were, you know, everything from parachuting to underwater stuff. It could be naval, artillery, anything. The syllabi were getting written better and better and better over years, because a lot of the officers in NTOs were getting really upskilled in training and education verbiage. So SMART criteria, learning objectives, learning outcomes, you know, all of these different things they were trying to develop in the syllabus. A lot of syllabi back in the day, 3 pages and you're done, whereas now you had something like a standard course could be 50 to 60 pages long. So we'd have lots of, like, thousands and thousands of syllabi coming in every year. The DF Registrar's office will be involved in that as well. They down the Curra, and they give you, you know, particularly with standard courses, senior courses, POTS courses, and logistics accounting courses. All of them career type courses. They'd get extra review, and they'd look at it from an academic perspective, because obviously with IT Carlo's involved in the process as well around the LMD or LMDS. So again, lifelong learning, all that type of stuff. So they had to be built for academic world as well as serving the purpose for the actual course itself. Because that was one thing that I actually discussed with John that was on there a few weeks ago, that like the army is becoming like way more academic than what it might have been in the past.
Well, it had to be. And to be very honest, you know, if you upskill your workforce, the chances are, you know, that you'll have really, really good people who don't just like the military is, yes, do as I say, here it's an order, go and do this, but you have an educated, informed soldier who's given independent, like again with Requiem and sniping, a lot of times the commander's intent is given to me and I go off and do it with my platoon commander, and that was it, we did it. So if you look at having educated folks in the organisation, it's brilliant, because not that they're questioning you, but they're able to bring them best selves in relation to, say, military decision making, stuff like that, that they can actually critically analyse problems. They can problem solve very, very quickly and efficiently as well. Like a lot of folks think that it's just do this, go there, kill. You know, it isn't like that. Like again, it's a thought out process where you know you think of doing the old, you know, the section attacks. Do you go up the middle with smoke, or do you go left flank, right flank? What way do you do it? So there's a decision in that. So the education piece, I definitely think, was one of the biggest benefits. like it goes back as well, because there would have been qualifications that you would have got years ago, before HETAC, before QQI. There was an award there, and it was great, and that award got you then accreditation towards other courses. So the Defence Forces has always done this, particularly with the commission ranks, because they would have had USAC and they would have got qualifications there as well. But with the enlisted folks, it was brilliant then to see that, and it's been absolutely embraced, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely good even for guys leaving now, like they're going to some pretty good jobs.
And look, you know, there's times where you'll have to spend that $3,500 to get a couple of letters after your name, you know, like if you think of this, like I'm a fellow of the Learning and Development Institute, formerly the IITD, the Irish Institute of Training and Development. I'm also, you know, you have different qualifications as well, and having those pieces make a big difference. The qualifications, absolutely, you know, it's great having 30 years of service in the military with 4 pages of courses on your 43A. But when you go outside, how do you convert that into qualifications for civilian course? Now, ECDL is great. You have an ECDL cert, which I would say is absolutely valuable. Never underestimate the fact that someone can actually use Microsoft Word and Excel. They're used widely. Not so much Access, but definitely PowerPoint, Excel and Word for sure. But anything like that, the education bits do help. And when you go outside, like anytime I speak to anyone, former or serving members who want to have, you know, move on or ask a bit of advice, I'll say, listen, start planning and give yourself a couple of years. It isn't the case you're just going to say, I'm up and walking out the door. This is a process. And look, you know yourself from leaving, you know, and having set up a new life as well as that. You don't just up, move and go. Like, you have to have thought about what you want to do. So the accreditation piece and the education piece is an other piece of that as well.
And before you kick on to then how you like why you left or why you decided to leave or your exit plan, how many overseas trips did you do in total?
So I 3 to the Leb. I had 1 to Liberia, where I was the Op Sergeant and ALO, the Air Liaison Officer. My boss at the time very kindly said, look, Will, you know about helis, you've done a lot with recce and sniping, so you'll be the guy doing the heli work. And it was brilliant. It was an amazing mission, the 91st Battalion in 1 mil. And then I got to serve in Afghanistan as well on my last trip. That was 09-10. There was 7 of us over there working in Kabul, and that was an interesting few months. Great crack, you know.
I'd say so. That was with the German forces, was it? Or?
Yeah, we were part of the German and Dutch brigade, and they are made up of multiple nations, primarily Germany and Holland. Fantastic organisation. Still keep in touch with a few of the guys. I visited over as well to Germany, to Holland to meet them. And it was brilliant. We saw a good bit of stuff there as well. Interesting, like, of course, look, we're in the bunker. Well, I was in the bunker. I was a watchkeeper. That was my role. But look, anytime you step outside the gates in Kabul, it's an interesting country, an interesting city, beautiful country. But it was fantastic. As a watchkeeper, that was an interesting job as well. You see everything real time. You're working very closely with the 4-star general who's just over your shoulder. And
watching everything.
you know, I would say they're brilliant in the sense that they rely a lot on their folks and their people. So you have the battle captain behind you as well, and they're working directly with you. So you're on like a 13-hour day shift, 11-hour night shift, and you're working very close. Really tight-knit community, tight-knit family. You might leave your shift that evening, come back the following morning and still rocking on, you know. So it's an interesting one. Very interesting to be in the NATO mission, which was very, very kinetic, very hot all of the time, compared to say peacekeeping in the Leb or in different missions where it's it's not that it's not busy. The Leb has been like a firestorm, we know. But it was a very different mission, but I loved it, and a fantastic opportunity.
Great experience.
Brilliant, even just getting there. 5 flights to get there, it was amazing. Look, it went very quickly, but loved everything of it.
6 months out there, or a year?
Just over. Again, the guys rotate in. Again, you get there. And then it's a couple of days getting there. It wasn't too bad. But get in, you're sharing bunks with different people for a couple of weeks as you transition. Then the guys head off and you see them off then. But it was around 6.5 months, 7 months, something like that. And it was fantastic, loved it. And you get the opportunity to come home as well at Christmas time that year I did.
Brilliant. The old rest in between the trips.
Well, look, it's brilliant. It is great. Look, if the Defence Forces can help in any way, take it, embrace it with both arms.
Grant. And Canada then, you're out in Canada for a while on a course, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did that kind of come about then for you?
So a big part of what we were doing in training was we were always trying to ensure that the syllabi that we wrote were really written well, constructed well. Yeah. So a big part of what there was a thing called a specialised instructor course. You might remember that from the Defence Forces.
Yeah.
So a big part of that was where we had other folks who had educated and gotten upskilled in certain areas. So I had a number of contacts as well, and there was a thing called the Advanced Instructor course.
Yeah.
And it's like the Specialised Instructor course.
Yeah.
And they looked at training evaluation as well, they looked at analytics, they looked around role playing. Yeah. I did a similar thing on leadership in the Swiss military. Okay. So it was a great opportunity to bring the knowledge of that back into J7, where you could literally apply it then to a training syllabus. Yeah. So now when you're writing a syllabus, you're thinking, okay, evaluation, how do we evaluate this? Is it a level 1 to 4 or whatever, this Kirkpatrick model of evaluation. Yeah. So you're looking at where does it sit in evaluation. You might be looking at what is the right way of doing it. Even a simple thing of resources. Yeah. Like you might hear of I've seen it, for example, in the military college. They use a disc profiling. You might do disc to see what type of person you are. Okay. There's VARC, whether you like to be visual, auditory, read and write, or kinesthetic. Yeah. Now again, that's all learning styles. Yeah. But you can see I'm waffling about this stuff now because you get all this on these courses. You bring it back and you try and incorporate it into syllabi. So it was absolutely fantastic to get that opportunity.
Right. And so you decided to leave then after 29 years?
Yeah, so you get itchy feet, and
why did you stay for 29?
I suppose I loved it. It was always aiming towards the 31-year pension, getting a nice pension, having that in your back pocket. Yeah. So it was always I would have stayed till 60 happily. But look, I won't lie, money played a factor. Yeah. But it was also time to put the education to work as well, because I'd done a number of other courses myself and invested in myself as well. So it was a case of saying, look, opportunity strikes here. I've given a lot of service, been a lot of places, worked a lot in the second bat in J7, and then in the last couple of years in Baldon. I was out there running the IT school in Baldon for my last 2 years as a flight sergeant. So it just got to the time I said, look, an opportunity's come up. So Pubble, who look after a load of government schemes, they run the National Childcare Scheme, they run the Elderly Alert Scheme. Might see people have their watches have a little alert on it, a little pendant. So Pubble run a load of these schemes on behalf of government. It's an amazing organisation. Yeah. And one of the great things was there was no pension abatement as well, so they literally went to keep me full pay, which is brilliant. Yeah. So you went in and it was amazing. I took up a role as a business systems trainer, so I was involved in ICON. You remember ICON from the Army SharePoint that was implemented? Yeah. I would have been involved in ICON in the development of it, working with the IT team.
ICON was the internal intranet.
Intranet, replacing all them web pages, exactly. So that was a SharePoint tool. So I was then going out as a business systems trainer on SharePoint, and then a platform called Dynamics 365, which is like a CRM. Yeah. So I went into Pubble. My job was training the folks on different things. We had SharePoints here, we had CRM for case management and so on. So I'd work with what were called the county childcare committees around the country. Every country has one. A couple have two. Right. Dublin has 4, for example. You've got Dublin City, Fingal, Dunleary, Rathdown, and South Dublin. Yeah. So it's amazing you get to know all these things. Yeah. So Pubble is everywhere in the country, in the Republic. Amazing work, and loved it. So I was there for a year. And then I got promoted. A role come up as the training manager for the new, what was called the Affordable Childcare Scheme. Oh, okay, great. And this looked an amazing role. It was a promotion, it was a project. It wasn't the ACS at the time, the Affordable Childcare Scheme didn't exist. It was being built to go live to the country. So anyone that has kids now and they benefit from the ECCE programme, if the kiddies go for 3 hours in the morning or 3 hours in the afternoon, Pub will run that scheme. Yeah. But NCS, the new National Childcare Scheme, when it was given its new name, was literally, I developed the training plan from scratch, from the learning needs analysis, the work package, all the way up to the training plan, the budget plan, the implementation plan. Trained 12,000 people twice in 6 months. So you can imagine the crack there, you know. So you're building it from scratch, working very closely. It was brilliant. I'll give you an example. You know from working in the organisation, the Defence Forces. If you're in a room with the right people, it makes it very easy to get the answer. So we worked in a room in Mount Street with the Department of Children. We worked with our ethics, risk and compliance folks, we had our own team, and we also had the developers of the system, all in one room.
Right.
And literally we could get a decision by walking across the table, or some sort of information by walking across the table. It was brilliant. It was a great example of collaboration.
Yeah.
And really, really worked well. So that was 2 years in there.
Yeah. Did you see a major difference between transitioning from, let's say, dealing with like soldiers and military personnel to dealing with civilians?
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like to bribe a soldier, just give him a cup of coffee, you know.
Or they know.
Like there are. It isn't as simple. It's not just transactional like that. There's occasions where you have to, come up and say, guys, here's what we're looking for here, or here's a recommendation based on these facts. Very similar to the army. There's a lot of. It's a conversation. It's not that it's trade. You're literally working together for a common purpose, and that's very, very much like what we did in the military, Yeah. So I think a big part was to be able to say to the folks who say to the Department of Children, you might highlight something.
Yeah.
Like a classic one was to make some savings. We went from having sandwiches for everyone down to biscuits.
Right.
And that saved €80,000.
Jeez.
You wouldn't think it, but there you go. And being able to make these adjustments on the fly, it was brilliant. It was a great time, very successful launch, very successful project. Still going strong. I was just at Bloom this weekend, and the team are there as well, still working away. We did Bloom a couple of years back when we were promoting it.
Right.
And to be able to tell a parent, listen, you're entitled to about a couple of £100 a week here off your childcare.
Yeah.
And they didn't know about that. It was the first time ever in Ireland, and suddenly they're being told that they can get not just their free, the preschool hours, the 3 hours in the morning, ECCE program, but to be able to get childcare costs reduced. And we were able to give them that information. I loved it, big fan,
Yeah, great. And then going back, right, so deciding to leave the army, did you have an exit plan in place before you decided to join Hubble?
I think what I did was, like I mentioned Liberia, so 2004, I didn't have any formal qualifications. I'm sitting in Monrovia in the ops room saying, Jesus, Will, you can't be a sniper your whole life.
Yeah.
You need to do something. So that year, that September 2005, I went to the National College of Ireland on a 2-year Masters.
Oh, okay.
And that was the start of it.
Yeah.
But as it got close, I mentioned about the 4 letters, having to pay a couple of quid for 4 letters for CIPD. So you go for a job and you see CIPD after someone's name, you've accreditation.
Yeah.
And again, now I've got FLDI, or the federal, or the God, it's going to my head. The former IITD is basically now where you had these accreditations after your name, and a lot of time it doesn't make any difference, but in a lot of cases it does, because when you're going in as a recruiter, you can see that I need somebody who's coming from industry standard, someone who's got that qualification and accreditation. It is very important. So the Learning and Development Institute, that's IITD as it was, all of these organisations, they, again, you can work with them, get your accreditation, and it's really important. So investing in that as I led up to the time of leaving, putting the pieces in place so that when I did leave, I had everything ready to go. Because having a lot of qualifications is great. Like, for example, it's brilliant training as a 60 mortar man back in the day on the branch mortar, but when the time comes you're now on the vector, suddenly, are you still a mortar man? Well, if you haven't upskilled, that's questionable, You need to keep upskilled in the whole lot. So that's why any accreditations that I had, or anything, courses that I built up, any knowledge, I had to keep upskilled. Even today, where I work now, is all about maintaining that skill and knowledge and capabilities. You have to keep them. So that was it. So it was a lot. It wasn't just I'm leaving, done. It was a thought out process, and it was just an opportunity come up that I was looking for, and it worked out very well.
And how did you find then the whole transition from soldier to civilian?
Oh, sure, I couldn't deal with life, it was great. Like, I'm a devil. I taught with the army relentlessly, because I loved it so much. Loved every moment of it. But the examples that I brought into the job were very real. Allowed you to, like, suddenly when you go from crazy stuff in Afghan or wherever you might be, to then come into a job where you're not being attacked anymore, but you might have a bit of a challenging day in a different way. People saw you could handle things a certain way. There's a different demeanour about you as well. Defence Forces folks, I think, bring a lot to the table about being able to be level-headed when things go a little bit crazy sometimes, and they do. but also then the very social people who are not afraid to have a chat and a conversation and laugh and not take themselves so seriously, which is brilliant as well. And yeah, look, when I went into my first role in Pobble, look, you're like, there's the army guy over there, you know, there's always this, you know, people saluting you, having the crack, and that's just part of life, that's just the laugh and the crack, you can have that, you know. But yeah, I think when people saw that what you can bring to the table, they really did admire that. And just that you could work stuff out, you know. I'm a big fan of sitting there with a pen and paper and wargaming stuff and doing me courses of action, me recommended courses, or, you know, comparing the courses of action, comparing them, deciding what I want to do, coming up with a preferred approach. Like, it's real military decision making process stuff. And just being in a position to be able to do that, and people then seeing that you're at that, not just reacting with the first answer, which might not be the right answer, might sound right at the time, but realistically, longer term mightn't be right. So that was something I think that I brought to the table that was different, and not being afraid to ask a question. You know, you think about commander's intent, you go for section commander's orders, or you could say as a sergeant you go for platoon commander's orders, or the section commander goes to the platoon sergeant and says, look, what's the story here? You're extracting your orders from that all the time so that you can tell your boss what they're going to be doing. And it's very similar in business. It's very similar when you go and you hear what someone's looking to do. You take out what they're looking to do, where you fit into this, and then you can put your strategy in place for it. Now, it's always important as well, though, to keep an ear on what the others are at over the wall, because it's going to impact you. It's going to happen. So it's always good to have your connections next door, listen to understand what they're doing, but really focus on your own area, but also have a close ear to the ground on the other stuff around you as well. But that was the type. So the new army guy in Pobble doing push-ups on the Christmas party one year.
Push-up competition.
Push-up competition, great fun.
Grant, and then so you decided to leave Pobble then, and you moved into Novartis then at that stage?
So an opportunity came up in Novartis. I had looked at a couple of years previous, but I wasn't. A bit of old imposter syndrome kicked in, thinking, Jesus, could I do this? But an opportunity arose. The role looked really interesting. I said, you know what, this could be something that I could do, because it's in training, learning, education. It was in relation to working with stakeholders, working with internal, external. When I say external, I mean outside of where I work. Like within my team, it was a learning program manager role within the training, design and delivery team. So every verb or every word of that worked exactly with what I was interested in. Learning, programs, training, design, delivery. I was there going, jackpot. So you're really in there, great opportunity come up. Few interviews to go, as you can understand, there's a lot of interview process in some organisations.
Did someone reach out to you? Did you know someone?
So I had a small network there, reached out, said, look, this could be good for you. I looked at it, absolutely. Got referred, went in, did me first telephone interview, went in, had a chat, met the guys, went in again, put up, literally we're sitting in a room, and I just implemented the National Childcare Scheme training plan, so it was all fresh in the head, and they came and said, here's a use case, and we have multiple systems, and we're looking to do this and this, and straight away I'm going, I know exactly what to do here. And I'm there, risk management, reporting lines, gates, and put everything in. And before I knew it, I'm mapping it out, and it's very similar in structure. And the guys came in and said, that's fantastic, great. And between the jigs and the reels, the role was offered. But it was the actual job, the description of the job, sang to me. I just loved, and I'm 3 years plus in the job now, and love it.
You do quite a bit of travelling now as well.
A bit. Obviously COVID hit us all on the head. I was in Switzerland when COVID hit, and we literally got the word "get home." You're shutting down the world's shutting down.
Probably got out just on time.
So we got out just in time. The word was that someone in the building that we'd just been in had COVID, or maybe had COVID, and you're going, oh my God, no one knew what this thing was. So I got home. So that was when I looked after region Europe and the US, and now I look after the US only within the team. So we deliver services internally to our colleagues in the company, whether it be e-learning, gamification, learning advisory, all those type of things that's the type of service that we offer. So we've a multitude. We've a fairly big team of just under 100 people, and So when I look after the US now, it's different. So there is now, we obviously have to make a business case because everything, you know, we have to be careful with the pennies to look after the pounds.
Yeah, definitely.
So we make our business case, we can travel, we go off, we meet our colleagues in the US, which is amazing because you get to meet them face to face.
Yeah, definitely.
And have that conversation where you can press the flesh, ask them a question, they can ask you. You can spend a bit more time with them. It's a lot less, you know, let's say electronic, you know. You think of Max Headroom on MTV, you're probably too young to remember Max Headroom. Folks, you can look it up, it's literally that talking head on a screen.
Okay.
So that's MS Teams for you, you know. But to be able to meet these folks, I was very fortunate last year to get away in May. Here we are now into June. I've already been there in March and May this year, and hoping to go later this year. But yes, it's a busy role.
Yeah. Sounds like the perfect role for you though as well.
No, it's good, and the team are amazing. Like we have a brilliant team, led very well. We've got, again, because we bring in folks, we have interviews. We'll have multiple interviews. They look for people who've got the right skills and capabilities. We hire very well. Like we hire very well.
How does someone that wants to get into that line of work go about that hasn't been in the military, right? Get into that kind of line of work. Get into that line of work.
I suppose one good thing, and this is one thing that I learned when I was on a course in the IPA, so the Institute for Public Administration, great courses, was to get qualified is one. You need to have qualifications, that would help. There's some brilliant learning and development courses out there. IITD is the Irish Institute of Training and Development, now Learning and Development Institute. They run courses. So get educated is another thing. Look at job descriptions. Go on to LinkedIn, go on to the career sites, look at the job descriptions. Go straight to the qualifications section and see what they're looking for. Start at the bottom, see what they're looking for, and say, look, if it says must be fluent in English, you need to be English fluent. Reading, writing. If you need to have an accreditation, it might not necessarily say the type of accreditation, but if it's learning, it's probably LDI, Learning and Development Institute, or it's CIPD. There's a number of these accreditations that are recognised. So if you see that on the job spec, around what their essential requirements are, and nice to haves as well, straight away you can look at that. Look at the job description, see what's in there. It should frighten you a bit. It should challenge you a bit. But that's okay, that's part of learning, you know?
Well, there's stepping stones that you need to take in order to get in the story.
Absolutely. Do your homework, you know. It isn't a rush job. You need to be taking your time. Now, don't ponder on it, you know, forever in a day. You can go in and have a look at the job descriptions. Go to various sites. There's a number of websites that are a bit more, let's say, you've got some sites where you'll find lots and lots of jobs. So if you want a niche set of skills, you could go onto those websites. You could narrow it down and say, to look, if you're looking at learning, you're looking under HR, a lot of them sit under HR or P&O, people in organisation now. So look in that area and then look at the job specs. And then you'll be surprised, because a lot of times, especially DF folks and Defence Forces personnel, they actually undersell themselves significantly. We have got more skills than the man in the middle. It's unbelievable. You know, you think of leadership, problem solving, the ability to be able to be dynamic, to think on your feet. Like, they are skills that are worth their weight in gold, you know?
That's, I spoke about it before as well, I'll chat about it again, but that's a big thing that we find, right? So guys, we've placed a few guys into different roles that have come out, and it's purely that they don't understand their CV, right? So they'll have certain courses down, they do a standards course, but they don't talk about what's involved in the standards course, or even an NCO course, or even recruit training, like, and the different aspects that you go through. So we then, what we've done is, like, we've translated some of their CVs from, let's say, military wording into, like, civilian wording, so that, you know, companies can understand what it is they're hiring, and, you know, add that value to the CV.
And it's through no fault of their own, you know. Like, I joined at 20 as a gobshite, pardon the French. Like, I left school at 15. I didn't do me leaving cert. I did me junior, you know, as we knew at the time, the inter, you know. And I did all right in it. And then I worked in Duns for a few years, and I'd never been on the dole, thank God, touch wood. This is probably NTF though. Like, I went from Duns to the military to Pobble to Novartis. Thankfully, I've been very blessed.
Definitely.
So did anyone sit me down and say, Will, here's how your skills and capabilities that you've amassed in this period of time translate into civilian life? No one did that. Now, career guidance, there's people who did all the pre-retirement courses. I nearly should think that there should be ones that are just about career development. That you can translate. So think about yourself as well. You've got those pieces to be able to translate. What do the skills of a standard course really mean when you civilianise the language? And there's a hell of a lot. Because we do disc profiling, we do problem solving, we do critical thinking, we do all of these pieces, which are vital skills.
Do you have any ex-military people on your team now at the moment?
I've been lucky. I referred two of my colleagues and both were successful.
Okay, great.
So there's a referral fee as well. So happy days. Mrs. Fitzgerald was delighted that we could get the blinds after the extension. So there's a couple of quid left over. What happened was a couple of roles come up, very similar to how I was approached.
Okay.
And I just said, listen, what do you think of this role? It wasn't a case of saying, have you got itchy feet? But they'd been looking themselves. And I said, look, what do you think? And I looked at the role descriptors, and I'm very strict. Now, I would say to you, I think I said it to you when you first reached out to me, was I will always accept a LinkedIn connection from a Defence Forces person. I don't care who they are. I will always accept it, happy to promote them and to work with them as well. So you look at that, right, and you look at then as well these roles, and I'm looking at job descriptions, I look at the people thinking, and loads of people are reaching out, would you refer me, going, no, not a hope, because you're putting your name against these people, Now people say, look, don't worry about that, the interview process will strip back and it's not really personal against you. But saw a couple of roles, thought they were very good, and both of them were successful. One was so successful that he lives only 200 metres away from me, and we carpool in now together, and it works out brilliantly. So doing really, really well in their roles, enjoying the company. We've gone through a lot of transition recently in the company, but luckily they're still working away, going good guns, and so far so good. And we've new roles coming up as well, so I'll be looking out there. So if this happens to go out while the roles are open, give me a shout, But look, it's again, the team is important to me. I always bring my military head to it again. Very loyal to the team. A lot of times you'll see in organisations that people will move regularly, every 3 years, say. It's a bit different. I have this different type of thinking that you can develop in role. I think it's very good and become an expert the role you're in. But look, there's opportunities as well. So we'll keep the blood moving,
And what do you think the benefits are for organisations that want to hire ex-military or look to the military to hire people, especially the Irish Defence Forces? Because again, I said it before, US companies, right? They have a veterans program in the US, but not a lot will have bases in Ireland. Won't have a veterans program. For example, the company I work with have veterans groups in the US. Okay.
Very, very big US cohort. Veterans Affairs is massive. In the US, it's massive. Look, there are a number of organisations who I know, a lot of colleagues I grew up with, shared the same time overseas with, who work in big organisations now. Some of them have been able to implement military type of pieces with vets as well, which is amazing. Others there where there's opportunities that come up and they say, listen, I know someone who's very good. They might have to get upskilled in time, might give them a flag, but I think the big thing about the Defence Forces and military people is their ability to be able to adapt. It's a huge thing to be adaptable, to be smart. They don't just lose the head. Now look, of course, we have a few people in the organisation who are very, robust and enjoys, times when just go, and you want the thinking soldier. You think of people like Ant Middleton. I'm a big fan of Ant Middleton from SAS. A lot of good ideas there about the thinking soldier, the people who actually can put words and actions into play. And we saw a lot of that in the organisation. So I'm very fortunate. A lot of my network are like that. So you think of people that you can have say, listen, I think they'd be a great fit for this. So anyone in the Defence Forces, first all I'd say is that there's a lot of options there for you. Particularly in the organisation, because I'm a very big fan of the Defence Forces. I'm very proud of it. There's a lot of opportunities in there while you're a young man or woman. Again, you might want to do courses galore, travel overseas. It is amazing. But when the time is right, you might want to look at something outside. So plan, get yourself upskilled, and open up your network.
Yeah.
Reach out to people like me, people who've left, people who've taken the first step in, because it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
When you suddenly tell Mrs. Fitz that, listen, I'm going to be going on my ticket and I'm going over to Pubble, and she's going, oh my God, what's going to happen to us?
Yeah.
You know, it's a worry, but be confident, you know, in your skills and capabilities. I think is a big part of this as well. You know, like a lot of folks, they sell themselves short, and we've both seen that.
Yeah.
So I think if they can in any way address that and be a bit more confident in what they want to do, you're on a winner.
Yeah. And then, would you recommend the Defence Forces as a career option?
Every day of the week.
Yeah.
Every day. The DF's had a knockback recently. They've had, like, I think
The
you and
progress.
I would have walked the same grounds at the Brewer quite a bit.
Yeah.
Numbers are down. The perception of the Defence Forces nationally is amazing.
Yeah.
The Irish people have great pride in the Defence Forces. I wouldn't see that the government have the same opinion, but certainly we need to see the numbers increased. We need to see significant investment. That being said, the organisation, amazing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today without having been in the organisation. The level of skills and capabilities that I received, the training I received, and then my network of people, thousands and thousands of people. I was at Bloom this weekend and my missus said, did you meet anyone? I said, it's the first time I ever went anywhere that I didn't meet someone. So, because everywhere I ever go, you meet someone. Yeah. I was in New York, as I mentioned there, around the 9/11 museum, meet a guy I work with there, and everyone's sort of going, again, you know? It is the best part of being in an organisation like that, is that, you know, the men and women, the lads and girls, like, it's lifelong.
Yeah.
You know, my recruit platoon, again, the 27th of the 27th, we have a WhatsApp group there. It's active every day, mostly with bloody TikTok rubbish. But we're still in contact with each other.
Yeah.
The people I trained on POTS courses, like Steve, who works with me now, I trained him on his POTS course.
Oh, okay.
We had people who we trained as recruits, who came very well in their careers. You know, they stay in contact. The network is just so valuable. The amount of value that brings cannot be overstated. Literally, your family, your military family, is brilliant. The Defence Forces gave me every opportunity. So I certainly would be its greatest advocate. Hopefully, one of its best ambassadors as well. I would always try to be proud of what I, bring to the table. Because every time you mention we're in the Army or Air Corps,
the expectation changes.
Well, people expect something from me, you know. Like, barred a couple of extra pounds I've on me there now, but I blame the bank holiday and maybe successful for months of not training right. That's my knees are broken from recce, you know. But look, there's an expectation there, and you should hold yourself to a certain standard. We always did. If you think about every inspection you ever did in the mornings when you're being pulled for treads and neck shaves and all those type of things, the excellence level that you achieve. Like, operational excellence is a huge keyword. We did operational excellence every day. You know, and we did it so much that we didn't. You know, I think it was one of my colleagues said it. You know, we train to get it right, but when we train so much that we can't get it wrong, then you just do it so regularly. You're training, and people expect that. And you know what, we just bring it naturally, because when you've been in an organisation like that, you understand what it's like to be that devil down in the ditch and the corporal standing over your head. And you're just covered in muck. Long as that feeling. Grant, thanks very much, Will. Much appreciated.